All right, welcome back, everyone. I am so incredibly excited to have you here for today's explainer because we are going to completely deconstruct one of the most universally beloved dishes on the planet, Murgh Makhani, better known as butter chicken. Now, if you love this dish, you already know that trying to make it perfectly at home can feel a little bit like chasing a culinary ghost. Sometimes the sauce splits, or the chicken isn't smoky enough, or the flavors just kind of fall flat. But today, we're changing that. We're looking at a highly structured, step-by-step schematic to mastering this classic Punjabi dish. We're going to explore the science, the history, and the exact physical architecture of this incredible meal together.
Okay, let's just jump right into our roadmap for today. We'll start with the origins of Murgh Makhani, then look at red versus yellow styles, break down the key ingredients and spices, and then we'll dive right into the actual construction with Phase 1, the marinade, Phase 2, Makhani sauce, and finally Phase 3, final assembly.
So, kicking things off with Section 1, Origins of Murgh Makhani. First, let's establish our baseline here. Murgh Makhani literally translates to butter chicken, and at its core, it's just this magnificent collision of textures and flavors. We're talking beautifully charred tandoori chicken that gets gently simmered in a deeply aromatic, mildly spiced, incredibly rich, and velvety tomato butter cream gravy. And listen, words like velvety and rich aren't just fancy adjectives here, they are the required physical characteristics of an authentic makhani sauce. It absolutely must cling to the chicken to create this cohesive, silky bite every single time. The blueprint of this whole dish actually starts over a century ago. Back in the 1920s, a chef named Kundan Lal Gujral opened a roadside dhaba in Peshawar. After partition in 1947, he relocated and opened the now legendary Moti Mahal restaurant in Delhi. But the real magic happened a few years later in the 1950s. Gujral had a very practical restaurant problem. How do you keep leftover tandoori chicken from drying out and going to waste? His brilliant fix was to submerge it in a luscious tomato and butter gravy, which kept it moist and ready to sell the next day. Literally, a resourceful kitchen hack gave birth to Murgh Makhani. And it's so iconic now that food industry forecasters at Data Central are projecting butter chicken to be a massive global new classic going into 2026. Moving right along to Section 2, red versus yellow styles. Now, if you've eaten butter chicken at pretty much any restaurant around the world, you've likely had the red style. That's the globalized, fast casual standard. It's got that vibrant red-orange hue, and it relies really heavily on a sweet and tangy tomato and onion puree base, usually with a much higher sucrose or sugar content. On the flip side, the yellow style is this older regional style deeply rooted in Old Delhi. It is savory, incredibly earthy, and nutty. It actually minimizes or completely drops the tomato bulk and relies instead on a super rich cashew paste and caramelized onions. There's actually even an ultra-traditional variation called chicken tikka butter, where the chicken is just straight up swimming in melted butter, cream, yogurt, and spices. And you know, this perfectly highlights the crucial difference between butter chicken and chicken tikka masala. It completely busts the myth that they're the exact same dish. I mean, sure, they might look identical in a takeout container, but structurally, totally different. Authentic Murgh Makhani uses a tomato buttercream base that is highly emulsified. It's silky, smooth, and historically skips onions entirely in the sauce for a lighter profile. Chicken tikka masala, though, uses a much chunkier, textured onion-tomato gravy. It is noticeably spicier, and it entirely lacks that high-ratio butter emulsion that defines a true makhani. All right, Section 3, key ingredients and spices. Okay, looking at the chemical building blocks here, the absolute game changer is dried fenugreek, also known as methi. If you want your homemade dish to actually taste like a high-end restaurant, methi is non-negotiable. It gives you this unmistakable, slightly tangy, bitter, earthy flavor that perfectly cuts through all that rich dairy. You've also got garam masala for aromatic depth and cashews, which build this mild, naturally sweet, creamy architecture right into the sauce. And then, of course, there's the chili powder. I love this quote from culinary author Nick Sharma. He points out, the warmth comes from Kashmiri chili powder, which gives color more than heat. This is huge, guys, because butter chicken is absolutely not supposed to burn your palate. The Kashmiri chili is used chemically for its stunning, vibrant red color and a very mild, inviting warmth, not overwhelming spice. Which brings us to the assembly portion, Section 4, Phase 1, the marinade. Now, this introduces a pretty big mechanical problem for us home cooks. Authentic Murgh Makhani uses chicken that's been roasted in a traditional clay tandoor oven, and those things hit blistering temperatures of up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So how on earth do you replicate that deeply charred, smoky flavor without having industrial restaurant equipment in your house? Well, here is your step-by-step schematic tacket. Step 1, you have to create a compound marinade using yogurt, lemon juice, fresh ginger, garlic, and your spices. The lactic acid in that yogurt is going to chemically tenderize the meat. You want to leave this for at least an hour or ideally overnight, assuming you have that kind of patience when you're craving butter chicken. Now for that 900-degree tandoor hack in step 3, you have to use high heat. You can either sear the chicken in batches in a smoking hot cast iron skillet, just don't overcrowd the pan or it'll steam instead of sear, or you can lay it out on a baking sheet and broil it on high. What we are looking for is high heat caramelization to create those dark, charred, crispy edges. That exact char is what locks in the illusion of tandoor-style smoke. All right, section 5, phase 2, the makhani sauce.
Building this sauce is a total exercise in layering. You gotta start with ghee, which is clarified butter. It has a much higher smoke point, so your aromatics and spices won't burn while they toast and release their essential oils. Because, let's be real, nobody wants scorched garlic ruining their dinner. Next, add your tomatoes. A fantastic pro tip from our sources is to use fire-roasted diced tomatoes, or smooth passata. They give you a way deeper flavor and lower acidity. Then you simply have to let it simmer. Cooking the tomatoes down breaks down their cell walls, releasing antioxidants like lycopene, but more importantly, it neutralizes any excess acidity. And finally, to get that required velvety texture, you absolutely must transfer this hot mixture to a high-powered blender and puree it until it is perfectly smooth.
We're in the home stretch now. Section 6, phase 3, final assembly. So you've got your perfectly smooth blended sauce. Pour it right back into the pan. Now stir in your heavy cream for that luxurious dairy richness, and drop your charred chicken right back in. Oh, and this is critical. Scrape all of those resting juices from the plate into the pan. That is liquid gold, pure flavor. Simmer it all together very gently. Do not boil it aggressively or your perfectly tenderized chicken will just turn rubbery. To finish the whole shebang, crush those dried fenugreek leaves between your palms to release the oils and stir in one final pat of butter. Putting that butter in at the very end ensures the emulsion holds beautifully without splitting and gives the dish this glorious glossy sheen.
I really want to highlight this fantastic piece of advice from culinary creator Sam over at Sugar Spun Run. She says, don't skip the simmer. Simmering is key for building flavor, and the longer the sauce sits, the better it tastes. You really have to be patient here. That final, gentle simmer is scientifically necessary to let the smokiness of the chicken permeate the dairy, and the spices in the gravy to really penetrate the meat. Like most complex curries, this flavor melting process means that the dish honestly tastes even better the next day.
Now, what's incredibly cool is seeing how the culinary world is taking this foundational DNA and evolving it into massive global food trends for 2026 and beyond. Because once you understand the core architecture of the dish, the smoke, the rich dairy, the spiced tomato base, you can innovate. We're seeing chefs make buttered chicken tacos, where that velvety sauce completely balances out a charred salsa roja. We're seeing sweet and spicy fusions like gochujang butter chicken noodles, and even citrusy miso butter chicken, where fermented pastes create these deeply caramelized, savory crusts. The actual architecture of Murgh Makhani is just endlessly adaptable.
We have tracked this amazing dish all the way from a really resourceful kitchen trick in a 1950s deli dhaba, right down to the microscopic breakdown of tomatoes and the chemical tenderizing of its marinade. You possess the complete step-by-step schematic now to build an incredibly rich, velvety, smoky Murgh Makhani right from the ground up. So the only question left is, how are you going to build and maybe even evolve this beautiful classic in your own kitchen? Thank you guys so much for joining me on this deep dive. Get into the kitchen, trust the process, and I'll see you in the next explainer.